Hello. This is the daily human design energy report for April 6th, 2023. And so we're definitely still feeling the full moon energy, and we will for a few more days. And so that's that energy of instinct, right? Really leaning into our intuition, really leaning into listening to the sensations in the body, releasing any thing that's blocking you from doing that, any maybe limiting beliefs, fear, control, whatever that may be. So really kind of looking at that during the next few days and just feeling into that as part of this moon energy. But we're now, the sun is on that second line of the gate of 51, gate of initiation, as the quantum human design calls it, or the arousing, as the I Ching says. And so this second line, this hermit line, right, we're really looking at initiating things from passion, from our heart, but not really using the ego to really push into that burnout. And so as the second line, the key word here is withdrawal. And we're going to tend to do that with the second lines. The second lines tend to withdraw and pull away because they're really taking the opportunity to see how this relates to them personally, right? It's really a time to turn inward and to see, okay, how does this help me? How does this benefit me? What does this benefit in my life? And so the recognition of mechanics of shock that indicates when withdrawal is the only logical action. The instinctive withdrawal when the power of the ego is threatened. Being too smart for one's own good and rejecting withdrawal in the vain belief that one can outsmart natural forces. The egoism to reject withdrawal and face a possible defeat. And so also looking at, do we want to withdraw because we might feel like we're not going to be taken the way that we want to be. We're not going to be perceived the way we want to be. Do we feel like our ego is going to be hurt? It's going to be crushed. And so we're really looking at that and looking at, are we limiting ourselves? Are we blocking ourselves? Are we not allowing our true self to shine, or listening to our instincts, right? And so for this next couple of days, leaning into maybe some of that resistance, some of that fear, because the full moon is in the spleen. And so, that center is kind of motivated and ran by the fear. And it's really, we need almost a little bit of that fear to get us to do something, right? Those natural instincts, they kick in when that adrenaline is kicked in and going. And so we kind of need those uncomfortable situations a little bit to bring the drive, to bring the force to go through it. And so leaning into the resistance, and if it's one that we should break through or one that we should not, right? Looking at this withdrawal, looking at pulling in and seeing which energies we do and which ones we don't. And then we can come into accountability. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable for doing this work. And that's why I'm saying, looking at that resistance, looking at, okay, is this something that I'm truly am fearful of? And is it almost like, if I logically think about it, every now and again the brain does do wonderful things, and it helps us logically break down some of our fears, some of these things, and it's like, okay, what is really the worst thing that's going to happen if I go ahead and try this? If I don't succeed at it, what is the worst thing, right? And so we can sometimes break it down. And so accountability, holding ourselves accountable, we truly are the only one that's going to be able to create the life that we want. And in order to do that, that means we are going to have to get uncomfortable. The only way we can grow, the only way that we can ever do anything at an elevated level, is that we have to get uncomfortable. We have to choose, whether it's at a physical level, you want to be stronger, then your muscles have to get uncomfortable. You have to do the hard work. You have to sweat, right? You want to do it on that spiritual level, you might have to do things that are going to be uncomfortable. It could be even about fasting or talking to yourself or doing shadow work or releasing trauma or whatever, any of those things. And so, but holding yourself accountable because you see the end goal, you see the bigger vision, you know that this is part of the journey, and you're also supported, you're also loved, you're also guided as you do these kind of work, right? This kind of work. And so a little help from our fairy goddess and our book fairy. or book fairy, that reminder of that withdrawal and turning inward is okay, right? It is okay to cozy up into a little book, and sometimes it is okay to cozy up into a book and escape reality for a little bit and to jump into somebody else's thing, but also remembering that we need to stay present. We need to stay present so we can hold ourselves accountable. So kind of playing along those lines of isolation and withdrawal, but then also pushing through. And so it's about reading, writing, and studying, and also our intellectual pursuits in general. This card may herald it's a time for great studying and learning. And so there is one caution to make sure that you're not excluding people and activities if you're always studying. It's about having fun and living for a while, but making sure that we live in our own plane, right? And so take time to further your education. And so we're really looking at that knowledge, that clarity can help us with our accountability. If we are fearful, if there's something that we're scared of, and we start thinking it through and breaking it down and finding the answers, right? And looking at it in different ways. And so maybe jumping in and holding yourself a little bit accountable by doing some research, by kind of answering some of the fears that you might have and kind of prove them wrong. Which is so funny how this is so parallel in my world and present in my world. And so these messages are coming so clearly. If you would like to do a private chart reading, I do definitely offer that. You can comment down below. You can send me an email with your birthday, your birth time, and where you were born. And I can run your chart and we can set up a time. Email is Christine@essentialstrong.com. Sending you all so much love.